Hello and welcome to another Thursday evening here on Viking TV. I'm Anne Diamond and I'm very glad to be with you virtually to bring you someone absolutely fascinating to meet. Now, here in Britain, we've gone today into another national lockdown, and most people like me are hoping that it might just save the possibility of a family Christmas. That's what we're all hoping for. Until then, it's just me and the dog. Say hello. And you, wherever you are in the world, watching. And it's funny because today's guest is bonded with Viking in so many ways, but also because of her love of dogs. Specifically, golden Labradors seem to turn up in so many of the films and photos and backgrounds here on Viking TV. I don't know if you've noticed, have you? It all started, you know, with Lord and Lady Carnarvon of Highclere Castle, who have a bevy of canines. There they are outside the real Downton Abbey, as they call it. And you'll notice golden Labradors around them amongst their other dogs. And of course, it was a feature that turned up regularly in Downton Abbey photographs and even in the famous opening titles. Now, that was the start of it. It started at Highclere, and Lady Carnarvon then gave one of her puppies to Viking's Carina Hagen. And that sort of set everything off, because this, I think you'll see in this picture there, there's Lady Carnarvon and Carina, and amongst all those dogs is Finsa. Finsa is the daughter of one of Lady Carnarvon's dogs, is now the star of her own books, of course, and nearly every time we see, oh, there they are again, in that lovely, under that lovely cedar tree outside here at Highclere. Nearly every time we see Carina, there's Finsa with her. There's those books all about her adventures. And we've got lots of other pictures of Carina and, oh, isn't that gorgeous? I think that's Finsa. And then later on, we see them, more and more of them, because Finsa then went on to have puppies. I think I'm getting the pedigree of this right. And those puppies have now, oh, look at them. Aren't they just beautiful? One of Finsa's puppies is Charlie, who still lives with Carina and Finsa. I think I'm getting this right. But two of those puppies, oh yes, there they all are. But two of those puppies have ended up with my next guest. The saga, as they say, continues. And Simba and Baloo, oh look, there is my next guest, her daughter, I think, with one of those puppies. So to introduce my guest, let me first transport you to a part of the world that, unless you already live in Europe and you're used to such names, it actually sounds as though it comes from some sort of fantasy land or an ancient historic novel, because we're going to Lower Franconia, the fabulous ancient wine region of Bavaria, along the route of the River Main in Germany. And to give you a flavour, let's look at what it was like when Carina went to visit.
This grand estate was the only French-style palace in Lower Franconia. The vision of Rémy de la Fosse, architect of the Château de Versailles. Official archives trace the family roots back to the year 900, and reminders of their enduring legacy and traditions are plentiful. But one of the family's most precious possessions cannot be found adorning these walls, or for that matter, anywhere within the confines of this grand palace. That treasure is Homburg Kalmuth, a rugged escarpment with a remarkable combination of soil and microclimate. Over the centuries, the Löwensteins have cultivated some of the region's most desirable grapes along this imposing cliff. Despite inclines of up to 80 degrees, the property is a priceless asset for viticulture.
Wow. So let's raise a glass as we meet a princess, a doctor, a mother, and the CEO of one of Franconia's oldest princely estates, Schloss Löwenstein. I hope I've said that properly. Home of the amazing Fürst Löwenstein winery and vineyard. So Princess Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you very much. Hi, Anne.
Hi, it's
so
lovely
to see you tonight in these crazy times.
Crazy times indeed. What is life like for you at the moment? How is the pandemic affecting harvest, winemaking, business?
Yes, a great question. We are here in Bavaria, but we are in the countryside, so that means that we do not have so many changes. We can work as always. We have distance. Sometimes we have, of course, to cover our mouth and our noses. But thanks God, we continue to work, and all workers and employers are happy to have this compared to the people in the cities and to the people in the hard industry. That's not comparable to our situation.
And what about family life? I mean, are your children able to go to school? Is it affecting their education, their everyday life?
I mean, family life in our family means we have 200 family members. And this family life is quite difficult because we have family in Spain who suffer a lot, in Belgium who suffer a lot. Hello to the Belgium. And in France and in England and in Austria. But my little family, just here at home, in the moment we have school holidays and the kids are allowed to meet one other household. And thanks God, the best friends are coming from one household. The girl is best friend of my daughter, the boy is best friend of my son. So somehow we try to keep it all as a normal situation, thinking a lot about all those people who suffer and all those people who have a change in their life. And we are very grateful that we do not have too much change.
Very much so. But you are a doctor. As a doctor, what are your feelings about this pandemic, and when will we all recover? And do you think we'll all recover?
Yes, I'm a doctor, and as a doctor, I have to be on the emergency list. And there we all, as a team, are waiting for emergency incidents that does not happen in a moment in Germany, thanks God, by a very good organization in Bavaria and in the close area of Germany. As a doctor, I think that we have to wait for medication and in vaccination, of course, but we also think that we have to be realistic, like to shut down all the hotels and the gastronomical business.
Restaurants and things
like
that.
It's quite difficult because is that fair and is that realistic? The most infections are probably coming by not very much controlled or disciplined family parties. So I would not dare to invite our family. That would mean 200 people coming to our place from all over Europe, and this would be really dangerous.
I mentioned that we in Britain have gone into lockdown, and I personally hope that it is so that we can save a family Christmas. Do you think you will be able to do a family Christmas, or do you think that's out of the question? Big family, as you said.
No, we won't do a big family Christmas. It's not only us. It's not only that we could maybe manage this, but it wouldn't be responsible for all those close to us, for all the stuff helping us, for all the neighbors observing us, for everything. So we should be responsible and also should be responsible for those who have questions that they ask to us, of course. And those we have to picture how we have to behave in the moment, and in the moment the discipline is so important.
Those are such wise words. Thank you very much for those. It's worth reminding us all, I think. It's only on Christmas, hopefully. So can I ask you, because that is fascinating in itself, I mentioned the fact that you are a doctor. What is your own story? Where were you born? How were you brought up? And what led you to being a doctor?
A lot of things are going by coincidence, but I was born in the middle of Germany. Maybe I can show you some pictures.
Oh, please do, please do.
Okay. I'll show you pictures about my childhood. So this is my home where I was born up, and it's in the middle of North Germany, Westphalia. And our family, this home is from the Baroque time, but the family was mentioned the first time, like from this days, 1,000 years ago.
My goodness.
At this moment, my parents live in this house, and this is my little family, my parents, my mother in the middle, and us around. My father's home was more in the west side of Westphalia, with a lot of estates like this, because they've been families with responsibilities, and those who overtook responsibility became aristocrats, and of course had to have houses that could picture their responsibility. I'll show you some pictures of my family.
How far away was that, Princess Stephanie?
From this place where we are now. We are now in this room.
Oh, right.
From here it is 3 to 4 hours, but indeed maybe 300 kilometers.
It's a very big country.
And yes.
Even if you are my family, it's a very big country indeed.
And sorry for the moving.
No, it's good. This is great. It's like a family tour.
And then when I was, I would say 14 years old, I was very keen on horseback riding. But somehow I realized that horseback riding is not such a serious professional. And I was quite good at school and also quite good at science. And if you are good at school and good at science, in my opinion, to study medicine was the perfect the conclusion. So when I was about 17 or 18, I met a very good friend, best friend, and her father was a surgeon. Emergency surgeon, and he invited us to the surgeon circle to have a day beside him to see his work. And I was very much not only impressed, I was very much interested into that. And since my parents always gave me the freedom to choose myself what to do, I really applied to study medicine, and it worked quite good. It worked out because my brother overtook the real estate. My two sisters, lovely sisters, were also free to choose whatever they want. One, she has studied theology, and one, she has studied marketing, but we were all free to do what we want. So I became a children's surgeon.
Yes, a pediatric surgeon. My goodness. How did you then end up where you are? How did you meet your husband?
During my assistant children's surgeon time, uncle of mine called me and said, Stephanie, would you like to come over? I have a dinner party, but there are lots of guys and less girls. So please come over. So I went over, and my husband sat next to me. And
that was it.
I thought he was very interesting, but you meet a lot of interesting people. And the next day I had to have a horrible hard shift with night shift and whatever. So we had a great evening, and I went home. But the next day, during my whole day shift, suddenly he came to the ward and said, "Hello, I'm again here. I wanted to to continue our talk from last night. And I thought it's very nice. And it went on and on and on the day after he has been there again. And so somehow we became very close friends in a very fast time, because 2 months later we were engaged.
Oh, that's what a lovely story, and how romantic.
And we married half a year later.
He was a great grandson of Queen Victoria. 5 times, yeah. My goodness. Yeah. But clearly a romantic.
That's everything that I had to discover afterwards, I have to say, because Germany is a very difficult country about Catholic and Protestantic, about aristocratic and not aristocratic families. So the Prussian family, for my family and the area of my family, was not a theme to speak about, because we have been so Catholic, and it was we were like educated not to be a fan of the Prussian. So I was very much not educated about the Prussian family, and my husband very much did not mention it so much. But after a while, I got to know the history. I got to know my mother-in-law, who is so much wonderful and Prussian, and it's a fascinating history.
It is, and I hope you will tell us a bit more about that and show us a few more pictures in a moment. But in that earlier video clip, we saw your father-in-law, and he handed the business over to his son, your husband, so that he could pursue his own, he is there, so that he could pursue his own career in finance. So you and your husband then moved into the palace, into the castle, or whatever you call it, Schloss. When you married, what was that like?
We married to a close castle beside, 4 kilometers beside, so in a second family castle. And how was it? I was already 32 years old. I was a medical professional children surgeon. So the history was far beyond my daily life. My daily life was our little family, our little castle, and my really hard work. And that was it like. I couldn't get in contact so much with history. I couldn't get in contact so much with the people in the area, because I had to go to my shift.
Yes, you were a working doctor.
Yes.
Yeah, difficult balance actually then. To be the wife of a prince.
Yeah, but I didn't feel so much pressure, because I decided. And maybe I'm a bit sick-hearted, but I decided to do family and career.
Yeah.
And almost nothing beside.
Well, there would be no time
for it.
For it.
Wonderful with a husband who did everything beside.
Did your husband, so he sort of took over the business, was he natural at that? Is that something he always wanted to do?
That was something he was born with. As the oldest son, from the moment where you are born, from your blessing, from your first step to school, from your first step into the society, even if people do not speak about it and you do not speak about it, you get the stamp. And that's for everyone obvious, and that's how it was. It was obvious that he will overtake the estate, and there was also obvious that he has the freedom not to do that, what is sometimes in other families. And he also took the challenge once. Once he went to his father after our marriage and said, actually, if me and my wife are not able to overtake the estate in the way we want to do it, we do not want to do it. But my father-in-law, you met him via the video. He was totally convinced that it would be for the property good to have as a modern couple with a surgeon and with him and with our view of life, with our understanding of religion and tradition, that it would be good that we would overtake. So then there was the second decision. The second decision was, okay, we really overtake.
Yes, and it worked very well. And of course, you had 4 beautiful children.
4 crazy children, yes.
Are they crazy? Of course.
They got everything that Prussian and Löwenstein and Habsburg and Brenken and all the great characters who overtook responsibility during the centuries with a lot of power. All this is concentrating in my kids. And I tell you, it's entirely.
That is a family full of character. And your husband was, and I use the term in the past tense because sadly he died, and I don't want to upset you, but your husband was, by the sound of it, a very charismatic man. What was he like? Do you mind telling us?
He was impressing. Fair. So everything he was thinking about, all the decisions, all his behavior, all his representing was extremely fair, and that was very much impressing to me. He was very intelligent, but very much fair. And think about whom do you meet who has this personal gifts, that he goes through the world. He is provoked. He has stress. He has to do great decisions. He has to do decisions against his parents, against the community, against the company or whatever. And in the beginning, he's fair. That's quite impressive. And for me, I really adored this kind of character.
Yes, sounds wonderful and intriguing. He was, though, an endurance driver, racing driver, which sounds very dangerous to me, and ultimately it sadly was for him. But he clearly had a taste for adventure as well.
Like me, I'm sorry.
Really?
That is really something. I was cross-country horse rider, and I remember one time when I was really had a horrible accident with my horse and me falling down and falling beyond the horse, and my mother was at the end of the cross-country challenge, and everyone was waiting for me and my horse coming, and we couldn't come because we were lying down. Horrible. I'm so sorry for my mother, but somehow it was a bit in our both blood to
be a daredevil.
Yes, to risk a bit. But in this moment, I always see a difference if you risk something and if you really have this hard destiny. Because when he was this racing, I knew that he was so happy, and there was no way to say, please stop the happiness. For us, it was 2 different things, I have to say.
Yes. And sadly, as I've said, it ended so badly. It ended in terrible tragedy for you. And then suddenly, you had to take on the responsibility of running the estate until your eldest son inherits completely and decides how to do it himself, I guess.
Yes, if he wants to overtake. Yes. I as my husband, as me, as my brother, as a lot of kids in the situation, being the oldest, they are most time they get the pressure from outside, not from inside the family. Inside the family, they are one of a lot, but outside they get the pressure to be to inherit it. So I always told my son, you can do whatever you want. You can be a pilot, you can be a pope, you can be whatever you're dreaming of. I won't keep any pressure on you. And he developed like his father, and it's like he developed his genes, that he is responsibility. He wants to be a lawyer. He wants to overtake the estate. He wants to be a professional about our issues like forestry, like winery, like real estate, like history, like family head. And so I observe him and I encourage him. But I mean, where he tells me something.
Princess Stephanie, I need to interrupt you because I've had a couple of quite odd questions from our viewers who say that the quality of your picture has suddenly become blurred, and they say perhaps your children are online at the moment using up internet bandwidth. Do you think they might be?
I have to. Is that okay?
No, you're still very, very blurred. I don't know whether there's anybody who can shout at your children and make sure that they're offline at the moment.
I can do that.
Yeah, text them. I know it worked. It happened with me once. I was doing an interview and my son was upstairs online, and it made a huge difference to the bandwidth.
Okay, I try to tell them.
Oh, good. Thank you. Tell them off.
Please go out of the internet.
Get off the internet. Your mother's line. Isn't it funny how this internet business brings us all? It's a great leveler. Brings us all into the same.
Yeah.
Oh, now as far as I can see, you have suddenly. Your picture is getting better, I think.
Yes, they send to me smileys, so probably they change it.
Yes, but they need to get offline just for another while, for a short while. Jolly good.
They're writing, I'm out.
Oh, lovely, funny moment. But yes, it's lovely that you've given your children the freedom to choose for themselves. Until then, I guess you have had to manage everything yourself and take on all of that responsibility. And presumably that meant giving up your career as a pediatric surgeon.
Yeah, that's true. But that's like always. You always have to do a decision at special steps. So if you say yes to a husband and later yes to a family, this yes means something.
Yes.
And in my decision or in my situation, it means to be responsibility or to feel responsibility for the kids. And it's impossible to be a widow and a children's surgeon. Impossible.
Yes, I can imagine. Yes, you've got to be there for your children. You've got to deal with your own tragedy. And suddenly you've got to take on the responsibility for that amazing estate. You've got to learn its history and learn the way forward. How did you possibly do all of that?
Actually, luckily, I'm from a similar family. I mean, on the paper, it looks as if I would want to be a Wonder Woman who suddenly could change in between so many different fields. But that's actually, I'm sorry, not as romantic and as wonderful as it sounds. I'm coming from a similar family, and I was very close to my parents, to my father. Who also has overtaken estate from their father, my grandfather, and their father, my great-grandfather, and you can follow it until the 12th century. And it always had to do with forest, with fields, with real estate, with responsibility about a special area. So the vocabulary of my daily work today is very, very much the vocabulary I had at my childhood.
We've got another question coming in from Cameron in Littleton, saying you mentioned the dogs at the beginning. Could we meet any of the dogs?
Are you sure you want? Okay. I try to call them.
Yes, do try.
Mäuse? Hundi?
And they are Finsa's puppies. They don't look much like puppies to me. They're big. Oh,
This is Baloo. He always is very, very keen on me. And the other one, this is Simba. He's always a little bit more with distance, but someone has to have more distance than the other one. So hello, Baloo. As a puppy, he had the blue color, and Simba had the green one. Hello, yes, look here. Hello.
Oh, they are beautiful. Oh, they are beautiful and such companions.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yes, they are. They must keep you very busy as well.
I have to say, it was not my decision. It was Karin's decision and the decision of my daughter that they would have the new home at my place. But in these days, I wouldn't like to miss them. Ja, ihr seid tolle Hunde. Ja, ihr seid so toll. Ja, ich weiß.
Oh, they are beautiful. I tell you what, then while you deal with them and while they settle down, and before we talk any more of the family tradition, let's go back to the video that Karina made when she came to see your wonderful home. We'll have a look at this little video, and actually I'll tell everybody, watch out for the dogs because they're even in this.
Tucked into the forested banks of Germany's Main River is Schloss Löwenstein. This prized location hand-picked long ago.
The wife of our ancestor, she sent out riders and they checked all the villages along the river where the parish books showed the best weather, the most fresh wind, the least fog, and she bought the land, so that was done.
The whole estate is so full of nature, you lose your way. Nothing is comparable to this spot.
In this idyllic setting, the Löwensteins thrived. Unlike most, the family's rise to prominence came not militarily, but via a more interesting route.
One of our philosophies was it's much nicer to grow by marriage than by war. So we never won anything by war, but we won quite a bit by marrying nice girls with a bit of property attached to it.
This grand estate was the only French-style palace in Lower Franconia. The vision of Rémy de la Fosse, architect of the Château de Versailles. Official archives trace the family roots back to the year 900, and reminders of their enduring legacy and traditions are plentiful. But one of the family's most precious possessions cannot be found adorning these walls, or for that matter, anywhere within the confines of this grand palace. That treasure is Homburg Kalmuth, a rugged escarpment with a remarkable combination of soil and microclimate. Over the centuries, the Löwensteins have cultivated some of the region's most desirable grapes along this imposing cliff. Despite inclines of up to 80 degrees, the property is a priceless asset for viticulture.
Of course, the quality of the wine always depends on the spot. So just by history and tradition, the aristocratic families have the best spots.
Winemaking grew into a passion when the family discovered the grapes actually thrived in the withering heat and unique geology of this ancient place.
The name already is pre-Celtic, so it's a very, very old name, and it means a warm place where you can stay over winter.
In the 12th century, monks built the nearly 8 miles of vined terraces. But 1,000 years before that, the site was planted with another crop, by the Romans.
The pharmacist of the Roman legion found out he could plant all his medical herbs and not import them from Rome in a dried version, but he had them fresh. We had this checked by a botanist, and they discovered 120 Roman medical plants, all coming from the southeast Mediterranean, and they have survived 2,000 years.
For us, we feel all this history, and the microclimate there is very special. It's probably the warmest microclimate in Bavaria. We totally feel Mediterranean, and with the Mediterranean feeling, we have the Mediterranean taste in the wine.
Harvesting this bounty is anything but easy.
There are no machines, it's all hand harvest. The sun burns down, it's steep, it's difficult to hold the balance. It's a challenge, but the quality is so well known that we keep on.
After the harvest, new wines are born in the ultra-modern winegut, built within the historic stables. Combining insight and expertise, the grapes receive exceptional care.
On one level, they are pressed by a technology which is the softest you can have, and then they are pumped in one level into the barrels.
Grapes from the Rheingau and Baden add depth and diversity. It's a hands-on process inspired by centuries of acquired wisdom.
We make wine in a very natural fashion. When the grapes come here into the cellar, nothing is added to it. No chemical, of course, no sugar. That means it's very clear and natural.
Each vintage is infused with the character of the season, the enchanting power of nature untouched. Schloss Löwenstein is a rare treasure, the essence of working aristocracy and an enduring wine legacy in the heart of Franconia.
Oh my goodness, what an incredible landscape. Princess Stephanie, those steep terraces. I think I could actually detect that you and Karina and even the dog were actually a bit exhausted going up those steps.
Totally. And then we went into the car and went home, and during the driving home, our petrol got lost. So we had no more petrol. So the whole day was full of exhausting events. Yes, and you see there how steep the wine spot is, and that makes it so much offered to the sun, because the sun is coming from south and during the summer going westwise, and the grapes there have sun from 10 in the morning until almost midnight, because they are west-south linked.
Yes, it is a stunning landscape, and when you think of it, you can see it all from the river, which is very, very good for anyone on a Viking cruise ship, because you can just go down and watch it going past. But some of those terraces are at 80% angles.
Yes, and it's a mirror effect. The river takes the sun and mirrors it to the wine spot. So we have 60 degrees in Celsius in the summer. 60 degrees. So that makes the quality, and we are very proud of this spot, I have to say. But it's a hard work, and mainly Polish people are working in the spot for harvesting, the third generation. But in this year with Corona, suddenly the Polish people, of course, were a bit afraid to travel. So we had to ask sportive students of the area or of whole Germany to help us, and it was so nice. They came all together. They came from Kiel, from the north harbored city of Schleswig-Holstein, where it's flat. They have no idea of wine harvesting, and from the south, and they have been a very, very sportive, wonderful group, and they this year 2020 did the main harvesting.
Yes, and that's good, because it would be difficult otherwise. And that amazing heritage going all the way back to Roman times, when they grew their medicinal herbs and flowers there.
Yes, and that is very interesting. The Romans, after Christ, came to Germania along the Limes. And they probably came via the river Main, and they probably did a little pharmacy at our spot because we found 120 different herbs planted at our spot in a very structured way that do not come from our area, but they come from Lebanon, from Egypt, from south of Italy. So experts told us this is a pharmacy of the Roman. What is so interesting, so exciting. And then the Romans, almost 300 to 400 years after Christ, they were overwhelmed by the Germanen because they were weak. No more Romans were part of the Roman army, but they took a lot of Norse Celtic people to be part of the army. So the army was quite weak because of different personalities. So Germania managed to win several wars, and this company that used to be at our spot went to Portugal. And in Portugal, you find also a special bottle from the Mateus wine. And the bottle has the same shape of our wine, you know?
Yes,
and we call it box bottle. So the Mateus wine and our wine is filled, and still in these times, everything is restricted. So our wine is allowed to be filled in this special shape of bottle, and also the Mateus wine, and it was the same company. The company that has lost the war in our area went to south of Portugal.
To be part of such a history, and your land is part of that history, ancient history. That's wonderful, isn't it? I must get to some questions. We have so many questions coming in. First of all, I'm going to go to Bill in Seattle, who says, "Good evening, Princess Stephanie. Very good to see you again," he says. I think he might have shot some of that video. He says, "I'm thinking of your children, and I want to ask if your project, if you project out 20 or 30 years hence, how do you see each of your children continuing what your family has created over the centuries? Do you think they will keep the tradition going? At least one of them, maybe two or three of them."
This is the challenge I have to deal with. This is my whole life homework I have to do. And thank you for the question, because it's my daily question. I told to my kids already, if I think about gifts God gave to me, I think, and if you ask my best friends, if you ask my colleagues, if you ask our team, one of my best gifts is to deal with kids. And that's why I became a surgeon for kids.
Yes, yeah. It's and the challenge never ends. As the mother of 4 boys, aged between 32 and 24, I can tell you, it never ends. Brad, also from Seattle, who I think must have been with you on the day when the petrol ran out. He said, "I'm just wondering if you might remember knighting me with my tripod after you ran out of gas." He sent a picture.
Thank you. I love that day. I love that day.
Oh, that's lovely. Poonam says, "I love Matteo wine. Great to know about it." And Roberta from Beaverton in the United States says, "What kind of wine comes from your vineyards?"
Oh, it's really because our winery is really looking for quality. We only have very, very small amount of grapes. They have to be perfect for our area. You see our Carl edition. So C is the Riesling, A is the Silvaner, R is the Pinot Noir, L is Riesling that is a bit sweet, and the 1102 is the Sauvignon Blanc.
And of course, they spell out the name of your husband.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Not only my husband, also of his grandfather, his
yes,
double grandfather, his
going how many generations back? Yes. Oh, that is beautifully done. And Roberta from Beaverton asked much the same question. She said, "What kind of wine comes from your vineyards?" I gather it's a very dry wine, isn't it? Dry white.
Only dry wine and only this four grapes. 4 grapes, German. So only Silvaner, Riesling, Pinot and Sauvignon Blanc. Only. And because this is perfect for our spot. Of course, we could mix it with Müller-Thurgau, with Chardonnay or whatever. But for us, this is not traditional, and it's a bit of design grapes. In the moment, not in the moment, but since a lot of years and in the future also, we will only do the high quality of the grapes I've called Silvaner, Riesling, Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Noir.
That answers the question to Zana, I think, as well. Hi, Zana, in the United States. She asked what kind of grapes. But isn't it true that very early on, when you took over, you didn't know very much and you had to ask lots of questions? And one of the questions drew derision from some of the experts around you, because you asked, could we not grow some red wine grapes as well alongside? And they thought that was very funny and a little bit ignorant of you.
I got so many funny questions because I'm actually from a beer family, from a big family.
Right.
So when I came here, I promised to you, before I married, I've never drank one bottle of wine, never. But I'm so eager. I was always so eager. So I knew that the experts will come and tell me that I'm not an expert, but I'm an expert because of my photographic watching, because I'm a scientist. Mm-hmm. So I immediately learned the molecular existence or the molecular wine, how the molecular construction of the wine is, and I can draw it down immediately for you, for everyone, for all of the journalists. So the first very, very, very mean journalist came and he said, you don't have any idea of wine, so how will you survive? And I said, I think you don't have any idea of wine, but we can make a little challenge. I will drive down the molecular insistence of wine, and you too, and let us see who will win. Yes. And he gave up immediately and he asked, where did you get to know your husband? Wasn't that funny?
Yeah, but you're a doctor. You have a doctor's brain, and he should have remembered that. Lots of other questions. We'll keep them going. There is one that somebody asks. Can we meet any of your children? We've already met the dogs. Now, I wondered if you could go back to some of the pictures, because you were showing me earlier some of the pictures that show the history of your family. You started with that beautiful picture of the tiny toddler who was dressed up to pose in a certain way. Can you take us through, and some of the family pictures, and maybe the picture of your husband? I know.
I hope I find the picture you want to see.
Yes.
Here you see my parents and my kids.
Yes.
And here you see my kids. And this is the first picture of my kids when they all four have been together. That was Christmas 2008.
Oh.
Iliana, Laurenzi, Nicodemus, Augustina. She's the oldest.
And Nicodemus is the heir.
Yes, he's a lawyer. He's studying law. In the moment, it looks like he doesn't become a pope, but maybe a businessman.
Oh, yes, exactly. Oh, there they are again. So Nicodemus is the heir, and he's about 19 now?
He's 19. So this is the picture. My brother-in-law, Philip Kettler, he is such a beautiful artist, and he has drawn this picture from my kid in 1 hour. Can you imagine?
Oh, it's beautiful.
He's really an artist.
Show me the lovely picture.
Augustina, Kiliana, Laurenzi.
To the left, show me that lovely picture of your husband again, because we didn't get a proper picture of. Yes. Oh, yes.
This is in front of the wine estate, but I really love a lot these pictures of him, because this did Nicodemus. He did the picture of his father.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, that is everybody wanted to see your family, and I know that the children upstairs not being able to get onto the internet, probably a bit frustrated, and they wouldn't want to come on, but it's lovely to see your family. And you must be.
I can call them and then they are grumpy.
I know, exactly, but you must.
But sometimes they are laughing, as you see.
That's children for you. A lot of people saying, are your wines available to buy? Can we buy them?
Yes, via the internet you can buy them. www.Löwenstein.TV and then wine shop.
Well, we'll make sure there's a link at the end of this interview.
Thank you for the interest, because yes. I am sure that, hello, my dog.
Charlotte from Princeton asks a question. She said, when does your son receive his title? And what then will his responsibilities be? Does he actually inherit a title at a certain age?
Thank you for the question. It's very intimate for our family.
I know it is. I'm sorry.
My husband has decided if ever something would happen to him, his oldest son or one of his siblings should overtake not earlier than in age of 27.
27.
I think it has something to do with his own feeling that he didn't want to be on charge earlier. If you're 27, you have studied a bit, you have done some traveling through the world, you maybe have done some experience and maybe are strong enough to do the decision, do I want to overtake or not?
So I think that is very wise. You need time to discover who you are before taking on such a huge responsibility. I mean, when you did, you were a woman coming into a world which is largely male-dominated, the wine business, isn't it?
Not at all. All my colleagues are male, I would say. Maybe one or two are female. But in the beginning, the stress overtook totally my thinking. I just, since I'm so eager, I just wanted to do everything proper. Yeah. And after a while, when I wasn't that restless anymore, I realized that I do the work not only my husband wanted me to do, but I do the work my father would have asked me to do, because I was grown up in the same area of challenge, of forestry, of real estate, of history, of tradition, of Catholic tradition. That's very important in our family, and of winery was something new, but at the end also the winery has to fit into the family picture of being a traditional former leading prince house that has also a totally Catholic tradition. I'm sorry, they are fighting.
Very distracting, isn't it? I can hear there's a wrestling match going on in the background. What do you?
But I would never, of course, I would never have be successful. And I would say today, maybe tomorrow we are bankrupt or whatever. But today I would say we are quite successful, and I would never be this without my family and my grand family, also the 200 members of our family and our team.
Yes, and it does sound as though things are a success at the moment, and the dogs are clearly great company. What do you do to relax? Do you ever have any time to relax?
Yes, I take it because I have to be healthy.
Yes.
So to relax, I tell you, at 7 in the morning, I bring the kids to the train station to be sure that they go to school. And if they go into the train, I'm sure there will be some times.
Yes.
And then I bring the dogs to their dog room and feed them and close the door, very fixed. And then I do some sports. and then I see some news, and then I drink coffee, and I'm so grateful that the COVID does not forbid drinking coffee. Can
Yes.
you imagine? That would be.
It keeps us all going, doesn't it? And do you drink wine nowadays? Because you said you didn't
No,
ever.
never. Not never, but I have to say that on my own and during the day, I do not drink wine because for me, I have to get used on the failure of wine. So if I go to the wine estate, I wouldn't say once a week, but twice a month, to see the failures, because I'm an end user. I'm not a professional, and I'm not a member of the wine team. So I'm a customer. So if I go to the wine estate and try our new products, I have to find the failures. And I don't find them if I would be used to it.
Yes, I see. I'm afraid I wouldn't be so disciplined as you. I would love
No,
to.
I like to drink some cocktails, or I like to drink limoncello, or I like to, but I think that is quite a gift to find failures in wine, and I think you don't find them if you're too used to wine. That's obvious.
So we've also had lots of people asking if they were to come and see you, if maybe they were to come on a Viking River cruise and be able to come and see your estate, what would they see? Where would they be able to go?
In the moment, I have to say we are an aristocratic family with a hard business, and we do not have any touristic part of our business. So if they come to us as Viking customers, they have the great chance to come to us, what we normally do not offer, because our business is business enough.
Yes.
But me and Karina, and also her team, we got so much friends, and I understand that it's a difference if TUI is coming around or is Viking coming around, and we enjoy that. So if they come, we show around the wine estate, we show around our family chapel, which is really, after my opinion, it's so cute, because in the family chapel you see all the names of the family printed in holy pictures or in holy statues. And a lot of history is in this family chapel. And then we do a little wine tasting and a special game that with black glasses you have to smell and you have to say what kind of wine it is. Is it more fruity, more mineralic, more nuts, or more fruits inside? And then you have to do a little game to write down what is inside.
I like the sound of that game.
The winner gets something. So we want not only to do a boring wine tasting, but we want to let the people feel what our feeling of quality is, or of wine quality is. And yes, and very often you meet me.
That's good.
I come to the estate to bring something, or to ask something, or to sign something, and then I go to my office that is very close to it. So that's.
Because of course we must not forget you are the godmother of a Viking River cruise liner, aren't you?
Yes, I'm the godmother of Hilde, and it's so sad because Hilde, in a moment, and 1 year ago, and probably next year, will be more at the Mosel than at the Main. But
she will come back
to the Main.
Oh, there you are at the christening ceremony. Yes, how lovely.
It's such a beautiful, beautiful river cruise ship, and I've been there with my parents, and it was so sad to leave it because we would have loved to be there a long time longer. And we went to France, we went to Strasbourg, we went around the whole Rhine, because the Main I know, because I live in the Main.
Absolutely.
The Rhine is so it's totally different, because it's so huge, but it's so much calmer. And Strasbourg, of course, it's a city of the world, and we have been able to go there and to come back and to sleep at the river cruise Viking ship. Finally, it's so great. I saw really, after Strasbourg, I saw there's no hotel in the world better than Hilde.
No, I absolutely agree with you, but I haven't done the Main, but I sure will as soon as Hilde comes back to the Main, and it won't be long. I'm sure it won't be long. We just have to be patient for the moment. Yes. Princess Stephanie, it's been a total pleasure to meet you. I know you are a very good friend of Karina, and she sends her love, and I can see why, because you are great souls, both of you. Everybody who's been in touch, there have been so many people. I will read out their names, like Marlena in Alexandria in the United States, who says how much she's enjoying it, from Zaina to Cameron in Littlejohn to German in Chicago, Gian and Eric in Wichita.
Hello, so nice.
So many
to have them all with us.
Yeah, Princess Stephanie, they're watching from all over the world, and they love you, and they want to come. They want to come and see and taste your beautiful wine. And how could we not, after seeing those pictures and hearing you talk about your wonderful family and the wonderful heritage that it represents. So just take with you our love. And thank you very, very much for joining me today. And I do hope that we all, I mean, everybody watching as well, we all get the chance to come and meet you. Not that I want to climb up that 80-degree incline at all. I'd quite like to watch it from the river. But thank you so much, and give my love to your children as well, and tell them they can get online again now.
Thank you very much, and it was so nice speaking to you.
And call the dogs in again, because I know everybody would love to see them.
Oh, come here. Oh, Käse, come here. They're around. They are just.
They are here. They're lovely as well. Thank you so much to all three of you.
I have some cheese, but it's empty.
I'll leave you for the moment. Princess Stephanie, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, and good luck, and stay healthy.
You too. Absolutely. You too, and everybody else watching. Thank you.
All the best for you. Bye.
And next week, I'm going to be joined by the best-selling author and writer of some of the best Christmas presents I can think of, hint, hint, Robert Harris. Now, Robert has written 13 best-selling novels, the Cicero trilogy, which is Imperium, Lustrum and Dictator. He wrote Fatherland, he wrote Enigma, Archangel, Pompeii, The Ghost, The Fear Index, An Officer and a Spy, Conclave, Munich, and The Second Sleep. And lots of his books have been filmed, including Enigma, which is one of my favourites, starring Doug Ray Scott and Kate Winslet, and The Ghost, of course, which starred Ewan McGregor and Pierce Brosnan. So I'm looking forward to meeting him. In the meantime, as Princess Stephanie said, stay safe and well, and raise a glass, if you would like, to today's guest, Princess Stephanie. And if you fancy a cruise downriver past her glorious Schloss, let me leave you now with a taster of what Viking's River Cruise looks like in that part of the world. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This ultimate 15-day cruise highlights Europe from Amsterdam in the Netherlands all the way to Budapest in Hungary. Start in charming Amsterdam. Visit Cologne's Gothic Cathedral. Sample wine in the Rhine Valley's heartland and learn about glassblowing traditions in Wertheim. Plus, you'll wander the cobblestone streets of Passau, stroll the boulevards of Vienna, and finish your cruise in Budapest.